Yes, good morning, students. In a last lecture, we discussed about plant breeding, the entire process, five major steps. Now we go to the next topic, that is green revolution. Let's talk about green revolution. In the period of 1960s, okay, in the period of 1960s, the entire agricultural, up to that period, if you find the information, you can make out that 1950s and 60s up to that, the world was having shortage of food. Food crisis was there all over the world almost. So a green revolution was brought into the picture, means revolution in the field of agricultural activity, drastically increased the production, and many countries which were not self-reliant, including India, they all became self-reliant countries after adoption of this green revolution concept. The objective of this concept was to increase yield of agricultural production worldwide. As I mentioned, the reason behind this kind of drive, that was shortage, severe crisis of food all over the world. So what was the solution? Drastically, the yield of the agricultural production should have been increased. That's the only way out that was left at that time. So what they did is that few steps were taken. For example, development and adoption of new hybrid varieties of crop. Till 50s and 1660s, whatever varieties of crop were grown, they were through the plant breeding, they were improvised. Their yield was increased. Their resistance was increased. And such varieties not only were developed, but they started growing in their fields, the farmers all over the world. So that was the first major aspect. Not only that, but additionally, they started irrigation techniques, development of irrigation techniques and its implementation. A lot of scientific input was given in the irrigation technique studies. And finally, few developments took place in irrigation techniques also. And then other modern technology was put in order to drastically change the face of agricultural activity. So new hybrid varieties, modern techniques of irrigation, as well as fertilizers and pesticides. Everything boosted up the entire agricultural sector like anything. The production which was down, it went up by 3, 4, 5 folds. A same piece of a land that was giving X amount, now it was giving 4x, 5x. I mean, multi-fold increment in that production took place. The thing that was a main driving force behind this green revolution was development of new varieties through hybridization. Mainly by the conventional methods of hybridization. New varieties of crop, mainly in the staple foods such as wheat, rice, etc. And the moment these new varieties started appearing and they were adopted in the agricultural practice, since then the green revolution is going on. The person who is in a way, father of this green revolution at international level, here is the one, Norman E. Borlaug. Norman E. Borlaug. an American who worked in a Institute International Center for Wheat and Maize Improvement that was in Mexico. So his research was carried out in Mexico. And mainly he worked upon wheat, and he improvised the wheat variety through the plant breeding and developed semi-dwarf wheat. And since this semi-dwarf wheat was introduced in agricultural practice since 1960, the production has gone 2 to 3 times greater than what was earlier. For his achievements, he was awarded with the Nobel Prize. I repeat, a founder of Green Revolution by developing new varieties of plants through plant breeding, particularly the variety called as semi-dwarf wheat that was launched in 1960 by Norman Borlaug, an American scientist who worked in Mexico at the International Center for Wheat and Maize Improvement. Let us understand what was this semi-dwarf wheat all about. See, on one side you have a semi-dwarf variety. This was the normal wheat at that time. Now, I will give some points of comparison between them. If you wish, you can note down. I repeat, I shall provide you certain points of comparison between normal tall wheat and semi-dwarf wheat. If you wish, you can note down. I will not be sending in the notes in the WhatsApp group. So if you wish, you can note down. See, the normal wheat, as you can see, it was very tall plant at that time. And it had a weak stem. Its stem was weak and its height was greater. The problem because of such a tallness was whenever there will be wind blowing over there, the plant will fall over. The plant will fall over because upper part, it will be having seeds over here. Upper part of the plants will be having seeds. Bulk of seeds will be in this upper part of the plant body. So can you imagine tall plant being heavier at the upper end? If wind will blow, it will bend and it will fall over. It might be getting damaged severely. On the other hand, the semi-dwarf, the shorter plant with a strong stalk, because of the shortness, whenever the upper parts get loaded with the seeds and become heavy, and if wind is blowing over there, still that wind won't be able to damage it severely. So first of all, in the windy environment, it was better to grow semi-dwarf against normal tall wheat. Second point, because this tall wheat was very tall, it took greater time to grow. Let's say if normal case, if it requires 3 months, so this will require 4 months, something like that. Against that, semi-dwarf will require lesser time comparatively. जो 4 months यहाँ पे लगते हैं, यहाँ पे शायद 3 months लगते हो, ऐसा कुछ. Bottom line is, for a greater growth, you require more time. So this would actually require more time, the normal tall. So you have to sustain with that. You have to carry on with that agricultural inputs for longer time. Makes it expensive. Semi-dwarf was growing little lesser in height, so it would require lesser time to grow. That was the second problem which was solved over there. Third, being a larger plant body, it would require more labor to harvest the same unit area. When it was compared with the semi-dwarf, it would require lesser labor, the manual labor that would be involved in the harvesting the crop within the similar unit area. 1 हेक्टर में अगर कहीं पे अगर फार्मिंग हो रहा है इसका, या 1 एकड़ में, so 1 acre of land with the normal tall wheat and 1 acre of land with the semi-dwarf wheat, which one will require less labor to harvest this crops out of these two? Exactly, semi-dwarf. So less damaged or virtually no damage in the wind. Less time to grow. Less labor required over there. Not only that, this normal tall wheat, it was non-resistant variety against wheat rust. Wheat rust is one of the fungal disease. So there was no impact of wheat, there was a damaging impact of wheat rust on a normal tall wheat. The semi-dwarf variety was not affected by the wheat rust. This means that instead of a normal tall plant in the wheat, if you grow the semi-dwarf new breed or new variety of a wheat which was developed through the plant breeding by the Norman Borlaug, it was the best possible arrangement in the agricultural practice. So since that day, this semi-dwarf variety has been launched all over the world. And since that, the agricultural practice has gone to new heights, particularly in a wheat production, because of this act. So this semi-dwarf rye, the wheat rather, developed by Norman Borlaug, for which he was awarded with Nobel Prize over there in 1970 actually. He is known as father of Green Revolution. When he launched it all over the world, in India, same variety was launched in the form of 2 different names with slight modifications into them, Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. See, if you talk, Indian to an Indian farmer, if you say grow the semi-dwarf wheat, though he may not understand all these things. So if you tell him that there are new varieties of wheat named as Sonalika, Kalyan Sona, so it is easy for them to understand and remember and get the things easily done. क्योंकि उनको इंटरनेशनल जो चल रहा है वो इतना इंफॉर्मेशन नहीं होता है. सो उनके लिए वही सेमी-ड्वार्फ व्हीट दूसरे नेम से लॉन्च करके इंडिया में 1966 में, आई गेस 63 है शायद, 63 में it was been launched as Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. This variety had a very high yield also, and also had a disease resistance. This was introduced into the wheat growing belt of India, mainly the Punjab and parts of Gujarat and other some regions over there. And since then, our dependence on other countries for the food supply has been gone away. So all credit goes to Norman Borlaug for developing such variety. And yes, the credit to develop varieties and successfully launching them, international varieties to be successfully launched in India, that credit goes to father of green revolution in India, and that is Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. If he was not there, we would be the beggars even at this point of time in terms of food aspects over there. We would be dependent on other countries. The way Norman Borlaug did it for world, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan did it for India, the green revolution. Whichever such varieties which were getting launched internationally, he was the pioneer worker upon them, and he tried to grow them in Indian climatic conditions and brought about certain changes in them through plant breeding, and then launched our varieties, example Kalyan Sona and Sonalika, etc., in rice, Jaya and Ratna. And this is the way he changed the face of agricultural activity in India. So salute to this person, Dr. M.S. Swaminathan, father of green revolution in India. That was about the wheat. You see, wheat and rice are the staple food in India. So maximum focus was upon this two. Wheat के बारे में मैंने explain कर दिया. किसी को कोई doubt है इसमें? Who is the father of green revolution in international scenario? Norman Borlaug. Asta, I said international, beta. Norman Borlaug. He was an American scientist, but he worked in which country? Mexico, isn't it? International Center for Wheat and Maize Improvement. Who is father of green revolution in India? Dr. M.S. Swaminathan. Which variety was developed by Norman Borlaug internationally? Semi-dwarf wheat, with certain benefits compared with that existing variety at that time, which was tall. ये उसके कंपेयर में थोड़ा शॉर्ट था, इसीलिए उसको सेमी ड्वार्फ कहा गया. इससे एक छोटी वैरायटी थी जिसको ड्वार्फ कहते थे. Which semi-dwarf varieties of wheat were launched in India in 1963? Exactly, Sonalika and Kalyan Sona. I think you have understood. We go to the next one. As far as rice was concerned, semi-dwarf rice varieties were developed from IR8 that were developed at the International Rice Research Institute, IRRI, in Philippines, and from Taichung native one, another variety that was from Taiwan. And these varieties were introduced in 1966. These better yielding semi-dwarf varieties, they were developed in India. They were Jaya and Ratna. First, I will talk about international scenario, and then I will talk about Indian scenario. As far as international scenario is concerned, the IRRI, International Rice Research Institute in Philippines, the team of international scientists, they developed a new variety of semi-dwarf rice. Again, semi-dwarf rice. Rice may be tall, dwarf and semi-dwarf. Three varieties were there. Semi-dwarf was a result of plant breeding between tall and dwarf. They developed actually 38 varieties of hybrid rice over there. Can you imagine? 38 hybrid varieties of rice. First one was given the name IR1, second one was given the name IR2, like that IR38. How many varieties? 38. Out of that, the best one selected was IR8. That was launched in Southeast Asia, Philippines, Vietnam, Taiwan and other countries. अगर देखो तो वहाँ पे Laos and other countries, Burma, that is Myanmar, etc. And similarly, one more variety was developed that was in Taichung, city of Taiwan, a small island country that is called Taiwan below the China. It's one of the city called as Taichung city. In that city, in an research institute, a variety of rice was developed that was called Taichung Native 1. These two were the best varieties of rice which were grown in these countries. Later in India, they were introduced as Jaya and Ratna. Similar one, just that first they were launched in some limited areas of the India and were studied whether they are able to grow successfully and giving same results. Once they started giving the best results, they were launched as new varieties Jaya and Ratna. So it is nothing but the modified IR8 version only and Taichung Native 1 version only. So Jaya and Ratna, two varieties were developed in India and were launched in 1966. 63 mein Sonalika and Kalyan Sona, the semi-dwarf wheat, and 66 mein Jaya and Ratna, the semi-dwarf rice. They were launched in India. Have you understood? Okay, in 1966, which two semi-dwarf rice varieties were launched in India? Jaya and Ratna. Actually, they were derivatives of which two international semi-dwarf varieties of rice? IR8, exactly. The hybrid that was developed in IRRI. And another one is Taichung Native 1 from Taiwan. So first was about wheat, second was about rice. Another one, let us talk about it. Then work was done in sugarcane. In sugarcane, there was one problem that was solved. The problem was like this. One of the variety, a species of sugarcane called as Saccharum barbari. This is the Saccharum barbari. North Indian variety. Sugar content, poor. Sugar content, poor. Yield, poor. I mean, per hectare, production of this sugar cane, it was much lesser compared with the others. So low sugar content, low yield, these were the features of Saccharum barbari. There was another variety that was growing in a southern part of India, and that is called as Saccharum officinarum. Saccharum officinarum. The South Indian variety had a thick stem. It has a high yield, high sugar content. All these features which were prevalent in this best one. So logic says that why don't you grow this sugar cane across the India. Wherever you have to grow the sugar cane, why not to grow the Saccharum officinarum? The issue was this variety was not able to successfully grow in a northern Indian climate. Southern Indian climate is different from the North Indian climate. So this character of ability to grow in a North India, because North Indian climate thoda harsh hai comparatively. So ability to survive against the harsh environment that was there in the Saccharum barbari, whereas Officinarum had a low resistance, but low resistance against the environmental stress, but it had a higher yield, high sugar content, thicker stem. So what they did is they developed a hybrid of these two, and that hybrid had capacity to survive in the North Indian climate by having greater stress resistance. At the same time, it had a higher yield, thicker stem, and a higher sugar content in it. बोलिए पता चला आपको? Fine. Which was the South Indian variety of sugarcane with a better yield and higher sugar contents? Correct. Saccharum officinarum. Whereas, which was the variety of sugarcane in a North Indian belt having a very low yield comparatively and a low sugar contents in it? Yes, Saccharum barbari. Vrunda, when you write down scientific name, genus name should be starting with the capital, which was not there. Make sure that happens. So like this, we have discussed about, first of all, wheat, we have discussed about rice, we have discussed about sugarcane, and lastly, the other cereals collectively known as millets. Millets include hybrid maize. I mean, first of all, millets include maize, jowar, bajra, etc. Their hybrids were also launched in India over the decade. So hybrids of wheat, rice, sugarcane, and maize, jowar, bajra type of millets, all giving higher yield and having water stress resistance, particularly in the millets. Resistance to water stress that was seen in them. So here I complete the topic of plant breeding and green revolution. Now, one by one, the different characters that have been added, the features that have been added in the new hybrid varieties that have been developed through plant breeding in India. India level pe baat karenge. So first of all, in India, plant breeding was carried out to introduce disease resistance in plants. Wide range of fungi, bacteria, viral pathogens, they affect the yield of cultivated crop species. Can you name one fungal disease in plants? Any one? Rust of wheat, isn't it? Smut and rust of wheat. Smut disease, rust disease, absolutely right. Can you quote one viral disease in plants? Albugo, albudo नहीं albugo. Hasta go के albudo नहीं albugo. बोलिए. Tobacco mosaic, yes, Diksha, correct. Tobacco mosaic disease, cauliflower mosaic disease, bushy stunt virus, BSV, etc. Then can you give one name of bacterial disease in plant? Sakshi Solanki, very good reply. Citrus canker, very nice. So you know that the wide range of fungal and bacterial and viral pathogens, they are causing diseases in our cultivated crop species, particularly in a tropical climate. See, tropical climate is like warm and moist environment, which is best for fungi and bacteria and virus to grow. You see, in a dry environment, they don't normally easily grow over there. So in our climate, this is a major problem. Crop losses rather can often be significant, up to 20 to 30%. You can see that out of 100% crop production, 20 to 30% may be lost to just this pathogenic infection. Sometimes the loss could be total loss. I mean, 100% crop can be devastated by the infection by fungi or other such pathogens. In this situation, the plant breeding and the development of cultivars, I mean new varieties, that would be resistant to the diseases, that will enhance the food production. आप food production को कैसे increase कर सकते हो? Just by cultivating the new varieties that will be resistant to these pathogens. 20 to 30% production आपका increase हो जाएगा straight away without any additional effort. This also helps to reduce the use of fungicides and bacterial or bacteriocides. You don't need to use them if you have the resistant varieties. You don't need to use the fungicides and bacteriocides. So pollution will be lesser. Agricultural practice will not be costlier, as you are not going to use these chemicals, expensive chemicals. So it's a win-win situation. Production increase hota hai, expense kam hota hai, pollution kam hota hai. Resistance of the host plant, it is the ability to prevent the pathogen from causing disease. And this is determined by the genetic constitution of the host plant. Dekho, an ability to resist the pathogen, stop it from disease development. That is the genetic characteristic or a feature of the plant over there. Normally what happens that the cultivated normal domesticated varieties, they lack such resistance. But such resistance is seen in their fellow varieties that are wild varieties. जैसे राइस की वाइल्ड वैरायटी हो तो वो नॉर्मली वायरस रेजिस्टेंट, बैक्टीरियल रेजिस्टेंस, फंगल रेजिस्टेंट होती है, जबकि डोमेस्टिकेटेड वैरायटी में ये रेजिस्टेंस कम रहता है. So before breeding that is being undertaken, it is important to know about which organism is causing the disease in the given plant species, what is the mode of its infection and transmission. Those things have to be learned. Some of the diseases caused by the fungi are rust, brown rust of wheat, red rot of sugarcane, late blight of potato. Bacteria में black rot of crucifer. Virus में turnip mosaic disease, tobacco mosaic disease, etc. are there. To overcome these problems, these common diseases, what was done? Plant breeding was done with the objective of developing disease-resistant variety. In these varieties, development, as usual, 5 steps. You remember not the 5 steps over there. Collection of germplasm, collection of variability as a first step. You remember that? 5 steps of plant breeding. Same 5 steps were employed. The only thing that in collection of variability and germplasm collection, when parents were, worked out, selection of parents. First of all, the screening of germplasm was done for resistance out of the hundreds of varieties collected of a species, some wild varieties, some domesticated varieties. They all were tested that which one has a good resistance against these diseases. So that was known as screening of germplasm for resistance. So once that was done, then as usual, parents were selected, tested, hybridization was done in these parents, then the offsprings, the progeny, from that the recombinant hybrids were selected, evaluated, their testing release as usual, research field mein with ideal optimum conditions of agricultural setup. Then in the different agroclimatic fields of India, 3 back-to-back seasons by the typical farmers over there. Few selected farmers are given this job, and then comparison, and then finally this announcement that a new variety is now available, commercial production and supply to the entire farmer community of the India. This is the way they have developed few varieties of crop, mainly for the purpose of disease resistance introduction. जैसे wheat में himgiri. Now this himgiri variety of wheat is resistant to leaf and stripe rust and a hill bud. Leaf rust, stripe rust and a hill bud इस diseases के against में resistant वाला wheat का variety that is known as himgiri. Brassica. Brassica is a big family, very important family of vegetables. In that, Pusa swarnim, known as Karan Rai, Raina dana क्या ना Rai. So mustard. Karan Rai or Pusa swarnim variety of Brassica, resistant to white rust. Then for cauliflower, two varieties, Pusa shubra and Pusa snowball K1. They were resistant to black rot, curl blight, black rot. Then for cowpea, I think that is guar, if I'm not wrong. I'm not sure. Chaudi or guar, one of them. Cowpea, Pusa komal, bacterial blight. Then chili, Pusa sadabahar, chili mosaic virus, tobacco mosaic virus, and leaf curl. Do you understand? इंडिया में इस क्रॉप्स की ये नेम की वैरायटीज ऑलरेडी लॉन्च हो गई है and they are resistant to these diseases. If you want to see one or two of them, let's say this is the one, Pusa shubra, cauliflower ka variety. If I can show you one more, last one. See, Pusa komal, चौड़ी છે કદાચ, cowpea. So in this manner, the different disease resistant varieties have been developed in India. Do you have any question up to this point? If I was at your position, I would definitely have one question. मैं अगर स्टूडेंट होता आपकी जगह पे तो मुझे एक क्वेश्चन डेफिनेटली होता. देख के बोलो क्या होता. How they found this disease? Priya, if you can unmute and ask. You unmute and ask what you want to ask. Okay, it seems she has no question. अच्छा, मेरा एक क्वेश्चन होता इतना देख के, क्या आपको होता है वो क्वेश्चन? When I saw this chart, one question that arose in my mind, does that question arise in your mind too or not? चलो मैं बोल देता। आप एक चीज ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हो, this is not Divyaraj Gadvid here. This is not a scientific name. Puja, Swarnim and Shubham and Komal and सब में जो Puja है वो common genus नहीं हो सकती है इन सब की. So first of all, this is not a scientific name. Puja prefix is common to all. ये correct है. First of all, these names are not the scientific names. So these are not the species, by the way. These are just the name given. जैसे जया रत्ना, सोनालिका, कल्याण सोना, स्वर्णिम, शुभ्रा, कोमल, सदाबहार. देखो एक 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 आप एक पिक्युलरिटी अब देखो, ये जो नेम्स मिले हैं, ये नेम्स फार्मर के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, उसको इस वैरायटी का प्लांटेशन करना है. इसको कुछ और भी नेम्स दे सकते हैं, बट ये नेम्स जो फार्मर्स समझ सके और फार्मर्स को थोड़ा स्टिमुलेट करे, जैसे सदाबहार, शुभ्रा, स्वर्णिम, कोमल, हिमगिरी. चंदू भी रख सकते थे, मगन भी रख सकते थे, ऐसा क्यों नहीं रखा? These names are not attractive enough. ये names attractive है, कैची है, अटेंशन सीकर है ये नेम्स. सो फार्मर्स के लिए ऐसे नेम्स उन्होंने रखे ऐसा. अच्छा, सबके मोस्ट ऑफ देम उसके आगे एक प्रीफिक्स प्यूजा क्यों लगाया? एक्चुअली जब इंडिया में, all this by the way, varieties have been developed in New Delhi. इंडियन एग्रीकल्चर रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट का न्यू दिल्ली में जो सेंटर है वहां पे ये सब डेवलप हुए. उस सेंटर का नेम है प्यूजा. सो दिस इज द रीजन दैट all of them have been developed in Delhi at Puja Center for Indian Agricultural Research Institute. So they all are known as, majority of them are given the name Puja this, Puja that, and like that names are given. But actually this Puja name comes from another source, that was in Bihar. There was a Puja town in which Indian Agricultural Research Institute main headquarter was there, which was later shifted to Delhi. But इंडिया का जो पहला ये इंडियन एग्रीकल्चर रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट का जो सेंटर था वो बिहार में था. कौन से टाउन में? प्यूजा टाउन में. बाद में उसको कहां पे शिफ्ट किया गया? दिल्ली में. So just to give that honor to that initial beginning commencement of this IARI, this is the reason that the name given to the center in Delhi also is Puja. और फिर वहां से जो डेवलप होती है वेराइटीज उसको प्यूजा नेम देते हैं. बोलिए, पता चला क्या आपको? Logic behind this Puja prefix in each case. Yes, you got it, I suppose. Mutation breeding. See, the objective is to bring in desirable characters. in your plant variety to bring in desirable characters. That is the objective. Now for that, what you can do? So one thing, you can go for conventional plant breeding. अब ये conventional plant breeding क्या है? So in this type of process, you study the germplasm, you screen it for the disease resistance from the varieties that can offer disease resistance and good yield. Their characters are combined, selecting them as a parents, and a hybrid recombinant with the desirable character, it is developed further. But sometimes you have to go for mutation breeding. अब ये क्या भला है mutation breeding? In this process, by certain techniques, genetic variations are created in the plants. What do we do is, genetic variations are created in the plants. Actually, we induce mutation. What is the meaning of the term mutation? सोचो, आपके पास कन्वेंशनल प्लांट ब्रीडिंग के लिए जर्म प्लाज्म आपने स्क्रीन किया, पता चला कि इस वैरायटी में कोई भी डिजीज रेजिस्टेंट मेंबर ही नहीं है. How many of you understand what I am saying? You are looking for two parent plants. One may be giving higher yield, one may be giving disease resistance. You will cross them, get the hybrid, get the improvement. That's a conventional plant breeding. But while you screened the plant species and you found that naturally not a single variety of this crop is showing resistance, तो फिर आपको उसमें through mutation किसी variety, one of the variety of that, in which you have to induce what? Mutation, change the genetic characters and find or develop disease resistance. And then use that one as a parent with one of the desirable character, that is disease resistance. फिर आगे उसमें से breeding कराए, that would be known as mutational plant breeding. देखो, कन्वेंशनल प्लांट ब्रीडिंग और म्यूटेशन ब्रीडिंग में क्या डिफरेंस है? एक ही डिफरेंस है. जर्म प्लाज्म स्क्रीनिंग में अगर आपका जो डिजायर्ड कैरेक्टर मिल जाए नेचुरली अकरिंग फॉर्म में, तो देन you go for a conventional plant breeding. If you are not getting the desirable character in the existing varieties, then you induce this character through the mutations, either using certain chemicals or radiations. You bring about the mutation. See the variations and find if someone develops that resistance, that will be one of the parent for remaining plant breeding. Such a plant breeding should be known as mutation breeding over there. How many have not understood the same? In which scenario mutation breeding has to be employed in place of a conventional breeding? एक लाइन में कौन आंसर देगा? अगर आंसर देते हो करेक्ट, that means it is understood. कोई एक स्टूडेंट तो होगा जिसने अंडरस्टूड किया है और प्रॉपर्ली रिप्लाई देने की कैपेसिटी रखता है. चलिए प्रिया, आप ट्राई कीजिए.
Yes, sir. When the characteristic we wanted in the plants are not the desired characters are not found in the plant by conventional method, or then we can induce the new characters which we want by mutation breeding.
सी, आप लोग इसको अंडरस्टैंड करो, क्या था इश्यू? You, let's say that you want the disease resistance as a new desired character in your crop variety. How do you get it? Either you get it through conventional plant breeding or else you get it through mutational plant breeding. What is done in conventional plant breeding? Your conventional variety is to be crossed, domesticated variety is to be crossed with that variety which can provide its naturally occurring disease resistance power. So you have to screen the germplasm. You find out one parent plant that can offer disease resistance. Cross it, get the desired feature. That's a conventional breeding. Mutation breeding में क्या होता है? While you were screening the plant species, all varieties, none of them come out with desired character of disease resistance. So how will you introduce that disease resistance in your cultivated crop variety? So what you do is, through artificial mutational methods, you induce mutation using chemicals or using radiations. Genetic material or constitution is being altered. This leads to development of new characters. If one of the character developed is a disease resistance by chance, then use that plant as one of the parent and again carry on with the same steps of breeding over there, plant breeding over there. तो जो फर्स्ट स्टेप है ना, सिलेक्शन ऑफ पेरेंट्स, उसके अंदर ये डिफरेंस आता है. या तो आप नेचुरली अकरिंग वैरायटी पिक करो जिसमें नेचुरली वो रेजिस्टेंस है, या तो फिर आप उस रेजिस्टेंस को इंड्यूस करो वाया म्यूटेशन. When it was done in a mung bean, resistance to yellow mosaic virus and powdery mildew they were induced by the mutations over there. Further, few more examples. Resistance to the yellow mosaic virus in bhindi, Abelmoschus esculentus, bhindi का scientific name है. Abelmoschus esculentus, that were transferred from the wild species and resulted in a new variety of Abelmoschus esculentus called as Prabhani Kranti. Prabhani Kranti. Other breeding methods that were used are selection among soma clonal variants and genetic engineering, which I will explain later on in a next lecture. Soma clonal variants and a genetic engineering. You will learn in a later part. Now, before I go to the next, that is a plant breeding for the development of varieties that would be resistant to insect pest. We will see after 5 minutes of break. So the next feature that was introduced in many Indian crop varieties, that was about resistance to insect pests. Large number of insect varieties, they are damaging our crop. So insect resistance in host crop plant, that is been developed in different manner. Morphological, biochemical or a physiological characteristics of plant can be altered to make it resistant to the insects over there. Through the plant breeding and mutations, we have introduced some morphological changes, some physiological changes, some biochemical changes in our crop varieties, which have made them resistant to the insect pests over there. जैसे hairy leaves on several plants, they are associated with resistance to insect pests, such as resistance to jacids in cotton and cereal leaf beetle in wheat. अब इसका क्या मीनिंग है? So we have developed such features in plants, जैसे hairy leaves. So when we develop the additional feature in the leaf of cotton and wheat, the hairiness, that has stopped attack of jacids in cotton and cereal leaf beetle in wheat. Kind of a morphological change we brought about. हमने एक character introduce कर दिया, the character of developing hair on the leaf over there. पता है ना, कुछ लीफ की सरफेस पे एक थिक वेलवेट जैसा लेयर डेवलप होता है हेयर का. आई डोंट नो, हैव यू एक्सपीरियंस दैट? किसी लीफ का सरफेस स्मूथ होता है, किसी का सरफेस पे ऐसा लगता है एज इफ देयर इज अ वेलवेट लाइक thick layer of hair. So if you have added this character in the plant, it would make it resistant to certain pest insects over there. Another one, in some plants like maize, we have brought about biochemical change. अब previous cases में wheat और cotton में हमने कैसा change लाया था? एक morphological character add किया था, a development of hair on the leaf. Here we are introducing genes that will increase high aspartic acid level, and against that low nitrogen and low sugar level in the maize. Maize की जो variety develop की गई through the plant breeding, it had high aspartic acid content in it. ये aspartic acid एक one of the amino acid है, उसका level बहुत high रखा normal maize के compare में, और normal maize के compare में इसमें nitrogen and sugar का level low रखा. इससे क्या benefit हुआ? The stem borers, some insects are known as stem borers. वो ना स्टेम जो होता है मेज का, उसमें बोरिंग करते हैं. बोर करना मीन्स टू पेनिट्रेट थ्रू. They could not survive in such a maize which had a very high level of aspartic acid. High level of aspartic acid damages them. They could not survive. और वैसे भी इसमें sugar and nitrogen content low था इस मेज में. So it was not healthy enough for their growth. So ultimately, stem borers stopped damaging the maize over there. Smooth leaf and nectarless cotton varieties. अच्छा, ये भी morphological character है, smooth leaves develop होना, या फिर nectarless, ये physiological change induce किया है हमने. Such cottons are not affected by bollworms. One of the major enemy, the insect called bollworm, its larva damages the leaves extensively. I have already explained in the BT cotton. Now, if you develop the variety of a cotton through plant breeding, the one in which leaves are smooth, the one in which nectar is not produced in its flowers, so definitely bollworms will not damage this cotton. Then increasing the solidity of the stem, particularly in a wheat stem, making this wheat stem stronger. So through plant breeding, we have developed the varieties which will have a stronger stem in the wheat. When you grow this kind of wheat, the stem sawfly, which will cut the part of stem like a saw. So sawfly, which is damaging the stem of wheat, it will not be able to damage the wheat stem if it is solid enough. This is the kind of morphological or a biochemical or a physiological change in the characteristic that we have introduced in these varieties in order to make them insect resistant over there. Some of the popular varieties which have been developed as a pest resistant, insect pest resistant varieties. For Brassica, mustard rapeseed, the Pusa Gaurav, resistant against aphids. Flat bean की दो variety, Pusa Sam 2 and Pusa Sam 3, resistant to jassids, aphids and fruit borer. And for bhindi, that is okra, Pusa Savani, Pusa A4, which are resistant to shoot and fruit borer. Have any doubts? You see, this content is very, very important for board exam, for GUJCAT exam as a MCQ question related content. आपको दिया जाए, Pusa swarnim is an insect pest resistant variety of mustard and bhindi and chili and cauliflower. You understand what I am saying? MCQ के लिए बहुत ही important content है ये, इसको अच्छे से prepare करना चाहिए आपको. Okay, C. If A was plant breeding for disease resistance, B was plant breeding for resistance to insect pest, C, the plant breeding for improved food quality. To overcome the deficiency of nutrients such as micronutrients, that is minerals, then proteins, then vitamin deficiencies, or hidden hunger. Hidden hunger का meaning होता है that quantity of food you may be taking is a normal one, but it may not be loaded with adequate amount of vitamins and minerals. So there is a deficiency of vitamins and minerals, although quantity of food that you have taken is normal. So that scenario, you call it as the hidden hunger status. You may be eating too much and yet you may have a deficiency of certain vitamins or minerals. So that is known as hidden hunger. So to overcome these kind of problems of deficiency of vitamins and minerals and proteins, etc., can you name one or two diseases through the deficiency of some micronutrient? Or vitamin deficiency disease? Or protein deficiency disease, which you have learned in goiter, iodine deficiency, correct? Diviraj. और कोई? Night blindness because of what? Night blindness because of what? विटामिन ए डेफिशिएंसी ना। अच्छा, कैल्शियम डेफिशिएंसी से क्या होता है? वीक बोन्स, वीक स्केलेटन, टिटानी, करेक्ट। आयरन डेफिशिएंसी से क्या होता है? या ऑस्टियोपोरोसिस, करेक्ट। आयरन डेफिशिएंसी से क्या होता है? एनीमिया। आयोडीन डेफिशिएंसी से क्या होता है? Exactly, goiter. So you understand that deficiency of minerals can cause diseases. Vitamin A deficiency leads to night blindness. Vitamin C deficiency may lead to scurvy. Vitamin D, D for Delhi, deficiency leads to rickets. So you understand that vitamin deficiencies cause diseases. Protein deficiency will lead to marasmus, isn't it? So now we understand that the micronutrient, that is minerals, the proteins and vitamin deficiency cause disorders in humans, in a human population. The diet that is lacking essential micronutrients, particularly iodine, zinc, vitamin A, etc., increase the risk of diseases, reduces the lifespan and reduces the mental abilities. So what is the solution? Why not we use the plant breeding to improvise the quality of the crop, the crops which will be enriched with vitamins and minerals and proteins? How many understand this way? अगर आप प्लांट ब्रीडिंग से रेजिस्टेंस इंट्रोड्यूस कर सकते हो टू पेस्ट, resistance to virus and other pathogens, fungi, etc. So why not you can introduce features such as improvised quality of the crop, nutrient point of view, vitamin point of view, minerals point of view, protein point of view. You can enrich your crop with higher protein, you can enrich your crop with certain minerals, you can enrich your crop with certain vitamins. These kind of a plant breeding, the process of plant breeding of or process of crop breeding with the objective of introducing higher level of vitamins and minerals or higher levels of proteins and healthier fats into our crop, that is known as biofortification. Breeding for improved nutritional quality, that is undertaken with the objectives of improving following contents: proteins, oil, vitamins and micronutrients and minerals. That is known as biofortification. How many have understood the definition of biofortification? Does anyone know the literal meaning of the term fortification? बायोफोर्टिफिकेशन को छोड़ दो, फोर्टिफिकेशन टर्म का मीनिंग पता है क्या आपको? I think Hitarth has given a closest possible correct answer, Hitarth Maliwad. Fortification here refers to strengthening. Very well defended, very well strengthened, very much enhanced. उसके लिए वर्ड यूज होता है fortified. किले की और अगर आपने आर्मी को अच्छे से बिल्डअप करके अरेंज किया है तो यू से यू हैव fortified your fort or your किला, like that. सो किसी चीज को एग्जिस्टिंग से ज्यादा स्ट्रेंथनिंग करना, उसको फोर्टिफिकेशन कहते हैं. बायोफोर्टिफिकेशन क्या है? Your existing crops have a certain amount of minerals, vitamins, proteins, whatever nutrients they have. You want to improve their quality, the crop quality, through plant breeding by increasing their nutrient value, increasing their vitamin contents, increasing their protein contents. That is known as biofortification. Mainly vitamin content to be increased in them, mainly protein content and quality of the protein to be increased in them, oil content in their seed to be increased, as well as micronutrient and mineral content to be increased in them. For that, the breeding program for the crop is carried out. It is called biofortification. In 2002, one of the hybrid was developed, maize hybrid. It had twice the amount of amino acids named as lysine and tryptophan. इसको अंडरलाइन कर देने का, गुजकैट के लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट, बोर्ड एग्जाम के लिए सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट वन. A maize hybrid. A maize hybrid with the double the amount of amino acids such as lysine and tryptophan. जैसे नॉर्मल मेज में जितना ट्रिप्टोफैन और लाइसिन मिलता है पर ग्राम और पर 1 kg ऑफ कंटेंट ऑफ इट, इसमें उतना डबल मिलता है जो एग्जिस्टिंग में मिलता है उससे. और इवन आयरन fortified rice which can provide iron. See, majority or large number of districts of India in which anemia is one of the severe problem faced by girls, particularly ladies and girls, young girls. Multiple reasons. Generally girls का जो बॉडी बिल्डअप है उसमें हीमोग्लोबिन कम हो रहता है, उसमें आयरन कम होता है, उसमें दूसरा एक इश्यू है उनका loss of iron along with the blood loss in the menstrual period. Third, less number of girls are going to school, so उनको जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स में वो फूड सप्लाई होता है उसमें वो नहीं मिलता है उनको. फिर जनरली गर्ल चाइल्ड को कम खाना देते हैं. तो बहुत सारे रीजंस है कि व्हाई गर्ल्स मेनली सफर फ्रॉम एनीमिया. तो ऐसे केस में स्पेसिफिकली हर एक को आयरन की टैबलेट या आयरन फूड देना डिफिकल्ट टू cover up such a huge crowd, like 10-20 crores may be the ones which may have this deficiency of iron. तो एक सॉल्यूशन उसका कैसा निकाला कि let us incorporate genes which will increase the iron content in rice. अब एक चीज कॉमन है कि राइस पूरे इंडिया में खाया जाता है, हर कोई खाता है राइस. So indirectly iron source is enhanced over here. अगर स्पेशली आयरन की टैबलेट या आयरन का कोई स्पेशल आयरन रिच फूड अगर सप्लाई करते हो तो यू कैन मैनेज फॉर लिमिटेड पॉपुलेशन, नॉट अक्रॉस इंडिया. बट कोई चीज पैन इंडिया इंपैक्ट रखनी है तो जैसे आप राइस में आयरन का कंटेंट इंक्रीज कर दो तो पूरे कंट्री के अंदर जनरली आयरन का इंटेक बढ़ जाएगा. दैट्स व्हाट आई एम सेइंग. So that was the variety with over 5 times greater the iron content in the rice. That is commonly consumed variety of rice in which it has been introduced over there. फिर आता है wheat variety that is called Atlas 66, having a high protein content. Normally you see wheat में इतना ज्यादा प्रोटीन नहीं होता है. Wheat is a cereal. Cereals are rich in starch. But because large population of India suffers from malnutrition, mainly protein deficiency, they cannot afford pulses. Pulses are very costly. They cannot afford milk and meat, which are main sources of protein. So what they have done, the staple food called wheat, which is eaten almost in every part of country, in that if they can introduce the protein content, higher protein content, indirectly you are supplying protein to all people. That's the one. So IARI, the New Delhi Center of IARI, Indian Agricultural Research Institute, they have developed several vegetable crops and released them. They are rich in minerals and vitamins. जैसे vitamin A enriched carrots, spinach and pumpkin. आप सबको विटामिन ए की टेबलेट्स दो या विटामिन ए के जो भी और सोर्सेज दो, उससे अच्छा है क्रॉप में ही ऐसा डेवलपमेंट कर दिया प्लांट ब्रीडिंग से कि ये वेराइटीज नॉर्मल अमाउंट से ज्यादा अमाउंट में विटामिन ए प्रोवाइड करेगी. एंड दीज आर कॉमनली ईटन विटामिन्स. Vitamin C enriched bitter gourd, bathua. Bathua is one kind of bhaji, mustard, tomato, etc. Then minerals such as iron and calcium enriched spinach and bathua. Protein enriched beans such as broad bean, lablab, French bean, garden peas, etc. वैसे तो ये legumes automatically source of protein होते ही है, बट उनकी प्रोटीन कंटेंट और भी एनरिच कर दिया है हमने. दैट इज कॉल्ड एज बायो fortification. I think this is known as golden rice. If I am not wrong, I will confirm and let you know that biofortified rice with a 5 times more iron in it just see in a textbook, is it mentioned as a golden rice or not? कहीं पे मैंने रीड किया है टेक्स्ट बुक में, आई एम नॉट श्योर वेयर, but I think it is called as golden rice, if I'm not wrong. Tell me, through biofortification in a maize hybrid, which amino acids contents were doubled? Yes, Diksha, correct. Lysine and tryptophan. Which crop was made iron fortified with a 5 times more iron content in it? Maize, wheat, rice, or sugarcane? Which one? Rice. Which variety of the wheat is high protein enriched variety? Atlas 66. What is the objective of biofortification program? Through plant breeding, they want to achieve biofortification. What is the objective over here? To raise which variety of crop? To improvise the crop with the increased nutritional value. Deviraj, correct. Not the yield, not the quantity of the production to be increased. यहाँ पे yield से ज्यादा किसके ऊपर? क्वालिटी के ऊपर फोकस रखा है. If you can understand this way. Well, that is all about it. With that, we conclude today's lecture. I give you next few minutes for interaction. If you have any doubt, you ask. Ma'am, you can stop the recording. Madam, are you there? You have to stop the recording.
Yes, sir.
Yes, Deviraj, ask your question.
Yes, sir. Maize hybrid માં sir year textbook માં 2000 આપ્યું છે.
Okay, so printing mistake on our part. Make a correction, please, all of you. इस नोट्स में एक और करेक्शन करना है. फिशरीज में आपको जो एग्जाम्पल दिए है ना, लेबियो, रोहू एंड कॉमन क्रैब लिखा है ना, उसकी जगह पे लिखना है कॉमन कार्प. प्लीज ऑल ऑफ यू make sure that you go for this correction. I'll show you exactly what it is.